It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Monday episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Nielsen, Gage, and Cass with you, presented to you by our friends at CoolBet. Sign up for an account today at coolbet.com. They've got all the pre-series bets posted for the Oilers and the Avs, and when you do sign up, use the code Two Guys so they know we sent you. Cass, as we were coming in on the intro, were you texting us about the F1 League? Did I get it? Yeah. Like, I'm trying to push the buttons over here, and I see a text from Cass to the Two Guys group, and it's about F1 team value. That's pretty impressive, buddy.
Well, I told you, I usually don't do fantasy sports and that sort of thing because I go ham, and I take it way too seriously, and I obsess over it, and that's exactly what's happening. So, yes, I just texted you because now, even though I'm in 10th place with a couple less weeks done than everybody, so I've started passing people who have played the whole season. I also have the highest team value, which means I can get better picks on my team. So yeah, I'm proud of that right now.
Gager, you created a monster over here. And
you know what?
This is on you. I'm putting this on you 100%, buddy.
Next year, because you can have the option to have 3 teams. We only have 1 team in our pool, right? So to completely drive Cass nuts for next year, we're going to have 3 full teams that can compete. So 3 teams each in our fantasy league. So that'll be fantastic. And as I'm looking, Verstappen's got the fire for race streak for Azerbaijan. So that could be something.
Cass, if you win the league this year somehow, you're going to have to join us on Pit Stop Pals for one episode. That's your reward for winning the league.
That's
congratulations.
Punishment more than reward.
You have to join us and do a podcast for nothing just because we love it. That'll work out. That'll work out great. All right, boys, here we go. We got the Western Conference Final. It's the Oilers and the Avs. Cass, just your thoughts on what went through your mind when Colorado did book that spot to the final here in the West against the Oilers and what we could be in store for.
Ooh, I think it's going to be a fun series. Like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Edmonton. I mean, you want to win a cup, you got to beat the best. And I think right now, Colorado is the best team in the playoffs. So it's going to be a big challenge. Going to be lots of fun. Going to be lots of offense, I think. Potentially lots of offense, and going to be a tough one. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited for it. You're going to see either the best forward in the world and arguably the best defenseman in the world right now in the same series. So it'll be a blast.
Gager, are you expecting a lot of goals in this series? Like, I know they played 3-2 and 2-1 games in the regular season, and then there was that 6-3 game when both teams were a little banged up. Kane had a hat trick in that final game. It was a 6-3 Oilers win, but I know I've seen some people say, well, these two teams played each other pretty tight during the regular season. Part of me thinks that's just completely out the window here, but what do you think?
I think we're going to see a little bit of a track meet. I would take the over in most of these games. There's too much offensive talent and on both sides that there's going to be a lot of offense generated. Yeah, that was amazing to see how they booked their ticket too with that goal with 4.2 seconds. Cass, I was actually with a old buddy of yours, Eric Greiba, watching that game up in Slave Lake. So we were crushing lip pointers at Dog Island Brewery. That 8.5%, that's more of a guideline. Those things are like 14. One sip is heavy. It hits your belly and warms you all up. So congratulations to Dog Island Brewing. But yeah, we had a blast up there. And after that, it was funny because I was sitting with actually Chimera, Klinkhammer, Big Steve McIntyre, and yeah, we were all saying this is going to be a really good series. Can't wait.
Cash, you never fought McIntyre, did you? You guys didn't cross paths, did you?
No,
lucky guy.
We almost did. I mean, we practice fought a lot.
Okay.
We wrestled a lot
in
the summer because he would train here in the summers, and so we'd be on ice doing all kinds of stuff all the time. But we never actually.
True or false? His fist is as big as your head.
Pretty close. I mean, his fist is as big as everybody's head. Yeah, his
hands are ridiculous.
I think the saying is he's farm boy tough. That guy, Yeah.
It's a joke.
I grew up on a farm too. I get it.
It's a joke. The massive. He's so massive, that guy. It's just ridiculous. We had a charity game the next night. It was funny. Against the Slave Lake, the firefighters, and they all wanted to fight him. It's pretty funny.
You mean all of them at the same time?
Yeah, all of it at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. All right, guys. I texted a little bit earlier talking about the top 5 players in this series in rankings of importance from 1 through 5. Both teams combined. Gager, do you have your list ready? You can start. You can go through there, and then we'll work our way across the board. Oh, he's got the board.
I got the board. I did something. Maybe I didn't read.
I was going to say, do you have everybody on there?
No. I made it so you said 5 players, but
yeah,
I just went with both teams, kind of the head-to-head matchup. So 1, obviously, I went goaltending first. Mike Smith, Darcy Kemper. Like if the Oilers, I think that's the most important one, just because goaltending is gonna meet. It's with both goalies, I think they're susceptible to certain things, and it's just who can outduel the other one. Second one, I kind of had that Zach Hyman, Nazim Kadri kind of head-to-head. Just that toughness going and getting under the skin of the opposing players. RNH against Gabriel Landeskog. It's kind of going back to the draft too, kind of that versus those two. As 3. Number 4, I put McDavid and McKinnon. I mean, these two are the best players in the league by far, I think. And just them going head to head, I wanted to ask you guys, is that like canceling each other out? Because I do give a little bit more to McDavid, but I think that's the kind of matchup. And last but not least, just Draisaitl and Rantanen, because they're kind of both that big hulking player who's going to dominate physically more than the other. So those are my kind of 5.
Lots of great comparisons, though. Hey, like when you lay out the matchups, it's just like, damn,
that kind of look that it kind of fit together for me. So what do you guys think? Or give me yours.
Cass, did you put together? I got my list here too. Do you want to go or do you want me to go? I think all these lists spurred on a ton of different conversations about this series, right? Go ahead, Cass.
Yeah. I went with actual players on mine, although there's some similarities here. Number 1, I went with Mike Smith. I think to me is going to be a major factor in this one. What version of him do we get? Is he stuck on his goal line, or does he actually challenge once in a while? Is he going to make a save? That's number 1. Number 2 is Nazim Kadri. I think that has the potential to be the biggest wild card in the series to me is how well is he able to play Connor McDavid? What is he able to do? Is he able to produce offensively while shutting down McDavid? What kind of a thorn can he be? Can he continue to walk that line that he's been so fine at walking recently? He's going to be just, in my opinion, the most important player for the Colorado Avalanche in this series. Number 3 on the flip side to that is Connor McDavid, and how well does he play against that on the other side of it? How well does he deal with having somebody that's always in his face, having someone that drives him a little bit crazy, that's going to try to stop him at every turn, but can still put offense up against him? How is he going to deal with that? Can he take over a series against Colorado like Connor McDavid took over a series against the Calgary Flames? Number 4 is Kale Mccarr. Struggled a little bit at times in the St. Louis series to generate some offense. If Kadri is the most important for that team, I think Kale Mccarr is the second most important. Edmonton did a good job of not allowing Calgary's defensemen to be involved in the offense. Going to be even more of a challenging time against Colorado and Kale Mccarr to do so. Number 5 is going to be 2 players from the Edmonton Oilers. So Keith Bouchard, that defensive pairing.
Oh, okay. I like it.
The big thing in the series, because to me, they had a horrible game 1 against Calgary, and they stepped up and they were solid. The rest super solid the rest of the way through the series. Like, they played a really good series. They need another really, really good series against the Colorado Avalanche, because I do believe that you're going to get tested much more against Colorado as you were by Calgary. And those guys have to be at their best. And to me, if they're not, I think Nurse and Ceci will be fine. Keith and Bouchard need to bring it. They really need to bring it. So to me, they're combining for that 5th big thing here for the series.
Gage, any thoughts on Cass's group there? I don't know how much we're going to talk about Keith and Bouchard, so I like that you had it in there because we saw the 2 games against the Kings. Remember, they got lit up 2 games in a row against the Kings, and that put the Oilers in a bad spot. All of a sudden, they were down 3-2. Gage, you probably can't afford to have that happen in this thing.
No, gosh, no. I mean, especially early. I think it's really important that the Oilers try to pull one out of Colorado here. I should have Kale Mccarr in my list, but I kind of had that versus thing. I like where Cass has him, but I just don't. The Oilers don't have anyone like that on their team, so I was trying to figure that out. And overall, that is going to be the toughest thing for the Oilers to defend against, to have offense generated. And I'm not just saying in the offensive zone with Makar. That's him on the defensive side, great first passes, and then getting up in the play, right? And causing that confusion going through the neutral zone. Oh, the D-man's jumping up. Where's the forward? Like, communication within the D zone is going to be so important for the Oilers when Makar is on the ice, because he's almost like a rover, right? So you have to have eyes in the back of your head. The communication has to be clear. The switches have to be good, because Makar just rolls around that. And like you said, Cass, it's really important that Mike Smith gets to the top of the crease here, because we see what Kale Mccarr, he's probably the best in the league that has that little silencer that can dance that blue line and wrist it in and pick corners like that. So he's going to have to get out to the top, get to those points of deflections, and sometimes just going to have to get lucky and have the puck hit him.
Yeah, Makar is one of the best at that little quick pull where he moves it, 6 or 7 inches. So he just pulls it 6 or 7 inches to open up a lane, and it's not an absolute bomb. Like, it's not a boosh bomb, like big wind up hammer it. Like, it's just a quick little flick. But I mean, it still gets some heat to it too. But he just is so good at changing the angle, pulling the puck. Young defenseman. If you watch how he either pushes the puck and shoots it on the blue, or pulls it and shoots it on the blue, he's the best in the league at it. And it is challenging. And when you're changing the angle like that, like if you're flat on your goal line, you're in serious trouble because you're not cutting down on anything. So when the puck all of a sudden changes position and then is shot at you, you're not necessarily in a position where you basically have to make a bigger adjustment than if you had taken away some of the angle. So yeah, it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
There's too, though, after watching him and Byram play together, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the Oilers to counter too. I think they're a better counter punching team than the Blues, I would say. And you have 2 offensively minded defensemen while they're playing against you, to play against. To cause turnovers, especially at the blue lines. You could see a lot of outmanned situations going back the other way for the Oilers, but it's going to be it's exciting, man. This matchup has so many different elements to it to see how it plays out. Can't wait for tomorrow night.
You guys made me feel really good about my list. That's why I just shut up and let you guys go, because the number 1 on my list is Kale Mccarr. Because, Gager, you said it. I mean, your list kind of led exactly into what I was going to say. You matched up all these different sort of levels, and then there's Kale Mccarr up here all by himself compared to any type of impact that can be had on the Oilers Blues. So I look at it from a couple ways. I got Kale Mccarr on the list here because, I mean, if he has a series, there might not be any stopping him. And if the Oilers are going to remain in here, they're going to have to figure out how to neutralize him a little bit. So I've got Makar at the top at number 1. I've got Mike Smith, who you guys talked about too, at number 2. He's been good so far. I think he's going to have to be even better than he's been so far and more consistent and probably eliminate a dud game. Like you can't throw a game away against the Colorado Avalanche. You shouldn't be able to throw a game away against anybody. They managed to do it against Calgary, and they managed to come back against the Kings. And then I've got McDavid, Draisaitl, and McKinnon, essentially in that order, but you can go put those guys anyway. I mean, we're talking superstar power. I think conservatively, 3 of the top 5 players in the entire National Hockey League going at it here in this series. And there's going to be so much talk about McDavid and Draisaitl. No matter how good Mike Smith is, McDavid and Draisaitl are going to, I mean, they've got 52 points in 12 games so far in the playoffs. I don't know if they can continue that pace. Not sure if they need to, but they've got to carry this team offensively. And then on the other side of it, I mean, Nathan McKinnon, here you are, you're going up against the best player in the world and a guy who's also coming off 17 points in 5 games. You got 13 points so far yourself in the playoffs, which is pretty good playoff, but it's nothing compared to these two guys. And you're trying to get your franchise to somewhere where they haven't been yet. So if McDavid and Draisaitl have great series and Nathan MacKinnon doesn't, he's going to be criticized quite a bit, I would think. So whatever McDavid and Draisaitl do, McKinnon's got to do something very similar, I think, or else the Boo Birds are going to be out if it doesn't go very well for them. So I think there's a little bit of heat on MacKinnon here. And I think Kadri, today I had that writer on from Colorado. I don't know if you guys are listening, but he said they moved Rantanen down to the Kadri line and they're playing him with Lehkonen, and he's thinking that's what they're going to do with that matchup. So if they're going to try to get those guys out there against the McDavid line quite a bit, and if Draisaitl's with McDavid, that means MacKinnon gets to play against a lot of those other guys as well. So there should be an opportunity for him to get a lot of chances offensively in this series. Cass, where do you come out on MacKinnon in the role he plays here?
Well, I was going to say then it comes down to Nuge in that instance, as being a massive part of it, right?
Which is a tough matchup, man.
Which is a tough matchup, but I look at that series and I say, okay, the key to me then for that line will be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' puck possession for that group, because I think for MacKinnon, he has the ability in the offensive zone to control the puck, to dominate the play. Going to be tough when they have the puck. You're basically going to be in consistently a bend not break mode when MacKinnon has the puck in the offensive zone of keep him to the outside. Don't try to bull rush him here because they'll burn you. He'll spin off. He'll be able to create something, but let's just control this, sag a little bit, and then react when necessary. But the key will be maintaining puck possession offensively and not even letting them get to that offensive zone. That could be the battle in that group. But yeah, to me, that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins line gets so much more important, and Zach Hyman gets so much more important, because if you're trying to make sure that they're not getting off, MacKinnon's not getting offensive opportunities, you need Hyman to keep doing what he did in Calgary, which is just eat the clock and spin off of guys in the offensive zone and control the puck. So certainly some interesting matchups here, and yeah, it'll be, I think, a little bit of a chess match too between these two coaches, even more so than the Calgary series was for Jay Woodcroft and Edmonton, where both of these guys are, from a lineup standpoint and what they're trying to do with these individual lines, there's going to be some levers I think that the coaches can pull. But yeah, interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Gidger, is there any appetite from you to split McDavid and Draisaitl up, so that when they get Kadri out there against McDavid, you've at least got Leon against MacKinnon, or the other way around, or whatever?
I would, depending on how Leon's feeling, and he looks pretty good. I would split them up to start the series. I think it's just to allow Colorado to kind of focus on one line. It was, I'd try to, at least at the start, see how things go, But I don't know. After watching a lot of those St. Louis games, I kind of reminded me of the Oilers against the Kings in the first round, where they were able to dominate the Kings' defensive core a little bit more. Now that Girard's out, I know they have Manson, but they're a smaller D core, I think, than the Flames were, at least, right? Like the Flames were some big hulking defensemen. I think the Oilers can get back to that low power game, like you said, Cass, and spinning off guys down low and really working these D. I think that's a part of their game they're going to have to re-implement. They did a little bit, and I'd say in the Calgary series, but not as much, I would say, as LA. So that's kind of the kind of Achilles heel that Edmonton definitely has an advantage with in the offensive zone.
Nielsen, Gage, and Cass with you. If you're watching on the live stream on Twitter right now, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Just search Two Guys and a Goalie on all your podcasting platforms. Gager, give us your thoughts here. Smith and Darcy Kemper, is this the biggest sort of unknown factor, or the mystery, or the wild card factor in this series? Because I think both guys are capable of having really good games, and I think both guys are capable of letting you down a little bit. So how do you break down the advantage or the edge between the pipes, if any?
Well, really, after watching Colorado last year, I would have to I think I kind of give the edge to Smith a little bit. Just seeing Kemper, he was solid, but there were some suspect goals, I thought. Smith let in one from the other end, so I guess you're kind of the same that way. But, I mean, Smith has shown well. I don't think Kemper's established himself as the real go-to goalie kind of. There's been some weak ones there. Stuff he's swimming a little bit at times. I would give the slight edge to Smith now. Now, saying there's a lot of other things that go into that too, and the biggest thing about that is Smith's ability to handle the puck and make good decisions, right? So Kemper, I didn't find is as good as Smith is with handling the puck. So I mean, it's close, but just because of that puck handling ability and to avoid some of the Avalanche's forecheck, that's why I give that slight edge to Smith in that regard.
See, I'm giving it to Kemper, and I'm giving it to Kemper because I think
because of his small bush.
Yeah, tiny little bush, tiny little bush. No, I think you look at his numbers from the series.
Was that one of the episodes in the past? Great guy. that was great guy. Huge bush.
Huge bush.
Yeah,
that was huge. That was Giroux we were talking about. Yeah.
But no, Cass, you said Darcy Kemper, great guy. Tiny little bush.
Tiny bush. I can't remember if I did say it. It sounds like something I would say. Yeah, sounds appropriate. Yeah,
so tell us more.
Yeah. My thought for this is I think his numbers have been skewed, and I guess you could say the same about Mike Smith at times. But I think Kemper's numbers were skewed by one or two games where the whole team really struggled in the playoffs. And if you look outside of that, his numbers are really good. So I'm on the Mike Smith train in that I'm happy with how he's playing right now, and he's bounced back from some horrible outings. There's just like always this little bit in the back of my mind that's terrified every single time there's a shot. And I don't think I would feel the same thing with Darcy Kemper, which is why I'm going with slight advantage to Darcy Kemper here, where I think the comfort level with Kemper is higher than the comfort level with Mike Smith. Not to say that Mike Smith isn't capable of outplaying him, but I just get nervous.
I get where you're coming from. Like, I'm kind of the same way with Mike Smith. Like, I guess you could straight up say he's made me look bad twice now. Like, you come out of the game 5 against the Kings, I hated 3 of those goals, and you're sitting there going, man, Mike Smith's got to play a lot better. These guys are done. And then he played a lot better, and the team in front of him played better in those 2 games. And then you get game 1 against Calgary, and it's like, oh my God, yank him. And then early in game 2 against Calgary, they get a couple more, and you're like, oh, here goes Mike Smith again. And then he was relatively steady outside of getting scored on from the other end of the ice in that series against Calgary. So, Cass, I'm with you. Like, I want to like fully buy in to Mike Smith, but there's just part of me that's like, it's gonna get you. It's gonna get you at some point. So I just fully expect him to have one game where he blows it, and if the Oilers can overcome that, I think there's a series to be had here for the Edmonton Oilers. So that's one aspect of it to look at from the goaltenders. What about from a physicality perspective, guys? I mean, went into that Calgary series thinking they were gonna beat the hell out of each other. Do you go into this Colorado series looking at all the skill and, obviously a lot of speed on both sides? Cass, do you expect, like, would it benefit one team or the other if this thing gets nasty? Is this a thing where Cassian and Archibald can make an impact and maybe the Avs don't like that?
Maybe. I don't think the Avs don't have as physical a team as Calgary, but they have a way faster team than Calgary.
Yes, they do.
And the challenge with, I think, trying to play it that way, if you're thinking, okay, can we turn this into a nasty series, is the Colorado power play has the ability and the potential to light you up way more than the Calgary one did. So you got to be careful with that. I think where that physicality and that nastiness is important is bringing a little bit to it at appropriate times against the Kale Mccarrs of the world and against the Byrams of the world, guys that you're going to be able to hit, that you want to slow down, that you want to make this a difficult series for. Now, the tricky part is you have to make sure to beat those guys back up ice. So when you hit them, you can't miss them. You can't spin off of them. You can't have them just, you bump them and create momentum for them to jump into the rush because they're doing so. So you got to pick your spots when you're doing it. I don't see it getting nearly as nasty as a Calgary series. I think it's going to be a little bit more controlled. And, that might be an okay thing because I don't like the idea of Colorado's power play having too many looks.
Gager, what do you think?
How was Colorado's power play in the last series? Was it it struggled a little bit, right? But I forget what the
wasn't
stats
as dangerous
were
as it
on
should be, right?
Yeah, but it did, like Cass said, it does create momentum for those guys. Touching the puck, they do generate chances. Maybe they just didn't score. They didn't score a lot, but the power plays that I saw, like they had zone possession time for a lot of the 2 minutes. So you definitely don't want to have them feeling better about themselves for sure. But I think it's going to be quite a physical series, to tell you the truth. Just not the type of thing that I think Calgary was trying to do, like trying to do a lot of stuff after the whistle and things like that. But I think checks are going to be finished. It's going to be a very fast game. And two teams, by all accounts, kind of play between the whistles a little bit more. So, yeah, it's just going to be a different type of physical game, I think. And like Cass said, those are two guys that are targeted. And I don't mean targeted as trying to kill them, but if you were in that Oilers dressing room, I guarantee it's finish your checks on Makar and Byram every chance you get. You just want to wear them down to the point when they're going back for a puck and they're not even looking. They're just getting rid of it because they just don't want to get hit anymore.
Okay, two more things I want to get to. We'll get to our predictions here in just a second. But before we go there, Cass, do you view, I view the Oilers as a slight underdog in this series. I had a few other people who said it's a coin flip. I've had other people say they're more than a slight underdog in this series. Because Colorado, they're Stanley Cup favorite, and one of, if not the best team, start to finish in the National Hockey League this year. And the Oilers have had a nice run, but Colorado's been up at the top here for quite some time. So how do you view the Oilers heading into this series, Cass? And if everybody in this, national media, Colorado, if they're going to be talking about them as an underdog, it's not very often you got the two best players in the league and you're viewed as an underdog. So it's an interesting mindset for a guy like Connor McDavid. So where do you come out on that?
I think Edmonton is a slight underdog here. And I think so for the aforementioned reasons. Like Agent went through kind of the matchups. This matches up against that. And there's no Kale Mccarr. And there's no Bowen Byram on Edmonton. There's just a little bit more from the back end, I think, with the Avalanche. So I have to give a slight advantage to them with that. But I think Edmonton's going to give it a run here. It's going to be a tight series, an exciting series either way. Part of it just depends on how well Edmonton's defensemen can play. Can they shut guys down like they did last series? And if they can do that, then all of a sudden Edmonton's got a pretty good shot at it. So could be a little bit of a chess match, guys. I would give a slight advantage to Colorado, but not a massive one. It's not a massive one.
Gager?
Yeah, it's funny, Cass, because if I guarantee if we all were going to say, okay, the conference finals at the beginning of the year is going to be Edmonton and Avs, we would have the Avs way ahead of Edmonton, I think. And that gap over the last two series and watching what Connor McDavid and Leon have done, and to an extent even Mike Smith, that gap is smaller. I agree with Cass. I do give the slight edge to the Avs. Just because of those reasons. That generating offense from the back end is so difficult to defend against. And not saying McKinnon's easy to defend, but it's more predictable seeing him generate offense. When you have it coming in waves from the back end and those switches and things, it creates a lot more chaos and it's a lot more difficult to defend. So, and that's kind of the reason why that slight edge I give to Colorado.
All right, boys, prediction time. What are you thinking then? It's not going to be a stunning upset if the Oilers win. I think a lot of people here in Edmonton will probably pick the Oilers to win. I was wrong. I thought Calgary was going to beat them in 6, and look what happened last time around. So, I'll say it again. I think Colorado wins, but I think Colorado wins in 7. I think the Oilers are going to give them a really good push here. And I still think Kale Mccarr is the difference. The Oilers don't have anybody that is at that level. And maybe Jay Woodcroft can work some magic here and find a way to contain him, very much like they did against Johnny Gaudreau and Tkachuk and the dangerous offensive weapons on the other side. But in my opinion, Kale Mccarr is just a better hockey player than those guys. So I'm going to go Avs. I'm going to take them in 7.
I was going to pick Avs in 7 too, in overtime. Game 7
Can
overtime.
you imagine that finish? Holy
overtime
smokes.
in Game 7. I think Colorado gets it, and I think it is Kale Mccarr that gets the goal. And that is the difference.
Gager, is it unanimous or you going with the Oil?
Oh God, I wish
It's
I
tough
could
to
go
go
with the
against
Oil.
McDavid. It really is tough to go against
It
McDavid
is.
and Draisaitl, but this is a tough matchup.
Yeah. This is going to be so great. I hope it goes 7 to I hope that the Calgary series went 7. I was
Yeah.
disappointed with that. But I'll have to say Avs in 6 here. I just think that it's going to be good. It's going to be really close, I think, but I think we're all in agreement. Kale Mccarr is the difference maker in this, and it's going to get to a point where it's going to be hard to defend. I think, yeah, it goes to Makar and the Avs. Avs in 6.
Let's wrap up by saying this. We would all love to be wrong. It would be great to see the Oilers go to a Stanley Cup final. We would love to be wrong in this situation, but just trying to look at it, and there's one big difference in this series, and it's Kale Mccarr. Could McDavid and Draisaitl elevate themselves to even another level? Certainly possible. Might have to do it. Maybe Mike Smith can absolutely steal a couple for you as well, which would certainly change this series. All right, guys, that's going to do it. That's a good preview for the Oilers and Avs. I can't remember being this excited for a playoff series in a long, long, long time.
Since 2006, buddy.
Yeah, I guess you have to go back that far, eh?
It's not, and the start times. How happy was I to see those
6
start
o'clock.
times?
So
Beautiful. Hey, Cass.
Everything's working out well.
Right, yeah, it's all coming up roses.
Yeah,
for
Cass, you don't
now.
have to stay up to midnight for your post game anymore.
I know.
So that's nice.
I can actually get
Kids
some
can watch
sleep.
these
It's
games.
Fantastic. Yep.
Most
Yeah,
importantly, I
perfect.
would like to point out that after the game on Tuesday, you can hop over to TSN and catch the second half of the Bombers Riders preseason game that I'll be
Ooh,
calling.
there you
Yeah,
go.
one of those teams
Great.
isn't even giving us a depth chart for the game. My goodness, it's going to be an interesting call. It'll be fun. Boys, enjoy game 1. We'll be back setting up game 2 on Thursday. Really looking forward to that. For Joaquin Gage and Matt Cassian, I am Nielsen. You've been listening or watching Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by our presenting partners at Coolbet. Go to coolbet.com, click on the NHL tab, and get all of your pre-series player props and series bets for the Oilers and Avs. Should be a hell of a series. We'll talk to you on Thursday, guys. Enjoy game 1.
Later, boys.
Bye.